Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Brawley City Council and successor agency, the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Our regular meeting agenda for January 17th, 2023 at 6 p.m. here at the City Council chambers. And if we can have the roll call, please.
Certainly, we'll have the minutes reflect that all council members are present.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is invocation presented by Councilmember Hamby.
So I'll stand if you're able. Bow our heads and pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are grateful to you this evening for this opportunity to gather together to guide our city in the best steps possible. We ask that you would oversee this meeting tonight, that the presentations that are made tonight would be clear, and that you would give us a path forward. We thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for your hand of protection that's upon our city. We thank you for our city employees, our staff, and we thank you for this council. We ask that you continue to bless our city. And I ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Our city attorney, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamby, and our acting deputy city clerk and city attorney, Mr. Smearden. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public appearances and comments not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you. When you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment? If you could please join us here at the microphone. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mario Renteria, and I'm just here to reintroduce myself as a district representative for Senator Steve Padilla. As some of you know, I've been with Senator Steve Wessel previously for 4 years, and I've made the transition over to the new incoming senator. So I look forward to working with you again, hopefully bring down some more funds from the state budget. I have a goal of exceeding that this year, so let's talk and see what we can make it happen. Cool.
Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
How you guys doing? Good evening.
Good.
Back again.
Back again.
Yes, just to give you a little update on where we're at. I've met with Rachel and I've met with Tyler, and we've talked a little bit. Gil's helped us out a little bit as well. Still no progress on us getting a building. Just to give you a little rundown of what we've done from the last time we've been here. We had a tournament yesterday in San Diego where all our wrestlers came home with medals. Come on in, more parents from Team Tough.
How you doing?
And we went to Southwest 2 weeks ago, took over that, ended up first place overall. All the local teams that were in that age group, we ended up getting first. My point here today is just to address again the importance. If you go now outside, pretty sure it's pretty fresh. Our kids are out there wrestling outside right now. No holds bar. They're doing it. And I don't think it's kind of right. I've looked at locations around here that are empty, and there's a possibility for us to find something. I just need you guys to support and help. You guys asked us for insurance. We provided it. And we still don't have a building. I'm not asking for state-of-the-art new stuff, something that our parents, that us, can keep our kids indoor. Our mats are taking a beating. Right now, they're torn up. We have to tape them every time, roll them up, put them away. We've had rain. We've had mist. No restrooms for the kids. It's been difficult, but we're called Team Tough for a reason.
We don't want to discourage them. We'd rather keep our kids in sports and schools rather than drugs and gangs.
This is one of the moms whose daughter is queen of the mats.
She's a freshman now wrestler.
She's wrestling in the
she's been
varsity
wrestling
level.
with this team, with Team Tough, for about 5 years now.
We have another mom that's here also. Her daughter's also wrestling at the high school varsity level, who come from Team Tough. So we're producing champions. So it's not lack of. The only thing we're asking for is just a small facility where we can put our bats and leave them there so we can practice, not have to be rolling them up every time or being out there with a blow dryer or with a blower trying to dry them up so we can get the kids.
Or most
On the
importantly,
mats?
not losing our children.
We already lost 10 kids from the last time we met because parents are kind of pushing a little bit of the sickness, them getting sick, them trying to recover, them trying to come back. I'm just asking for you guys' support. That's
I
it.
would also think that the kids would be like discouraged and not want to go, but they love going. They do it Monday through
Regardless of the
Friday,
weather,
Monday through
they're out
Saturday,
there.
they go.
We have parents that are out there right now sitting in chairs because there's nowhere to
For
sit.
instance, I drive all the way
Why?
from El Centro every day for practice for my kids. So.
And we call it Now Valley because we have people from Calexico, El Centro, Heber that come to Team Tough to practice.
We're a
We
family.
have people that come as far as from El Cajon to practice with our kids, from Coachella to practice with our kids. So we've been doing it for the last 7 years together. And all we're asking for is your help, your support, very important. Just support us. I mean, everything we're doing is out of our pockets. We're not asking for stuff. All we're asking for is just a place where it has a roof over that we can
Help
use.
these kids grow, give them some fundamentals of life.
I don't want to
as
see
well.
these kids on the streets. We already lost 10 kids. I don't want to lose another 10 kids next time we have another meeting.
In the past, where have you practiced in the
You know,
past?
we were practicing at Snap Fitness, but that eventually sold out. And the new owner decided to expand, so we were left without somewhere to practice. So we're doing backyard brawlers. That's what we're called during summer because we're doing it in everybody's backyard. Every parent, we put the mats 1 week here, 1 week there. And it's produced to where we're at right now, which is Boys and Girls Club outside. And like I said, and our mats are taking a beating, most of them. When we try to practice sometime with the mist, it's like practicing on ice. Kids slip, they can get hurt. We don't want that either.
Not only that, these kids go year round. It's not just one season. They go year round.
Yeah,
So
we don't
summertime-
stop.
Summertime will be coming. The heat will be coming as well.
So anything you guys can do to help us, I mean, for the second time, I mean, I know, well, I'm gonna keep bugging because I'm a parent and I have 3 wrestlers.
Sure.
My youngest daughter is 8 years old.
Is there an opportunity to work with another, like, agency aside from just the city? Because we do have maybe limitations in our space, but like a school or any other,
We were told about maybe doing practices on the junior high school basketball courts during the evenings because there's usage where we can put our mats there, store them on the side, not have them get damaged, and practice ourselves and come back out. But you know, that's as far as, like I said, I don't want to push too hard, but I mean, we're looking for a facility that
Sure.
maybe we can also rent out where it's reasonable because
Like the
All-
senior center or something?
all the prices are extremely high for us where, you know, like I said, we're paying for a lot of these tournaments and it's not,
certainly.
yeah, it's
I
not easy.
understand.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you guys do, especially being wrestling dads, some of you. And so that's what I'm saying is if you guys can help us out and say, hey, all we're asking for is Monday to Thursday practices. Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, we're always usually at a tournament or somewhere doing something. So just Monday to Thursday from 6 to 8 indoors would be a great opportunity for these kids. Some of these kids that have to lose weight, they can't because it's too cold to lose weight because they're outside. So, I mean, you know, we have to go to different options, different
Sure.
things. But if you're practicing indoors, you're sweating, you know, you're letting it all out.
Understood,
Yeah. So
understood.
And to have
Any-
the kids know that they've got support from their
Sure.
hometown, from their city.
from the Brawley they're
From
representing, from the,
everybody. They've
yeah.
got support
Right.
from everybody.
Yeah.
Great.
It's an item that is obviously being discussed with our city manager and our Parks and Rec manager. Is there anything you'd like to add, Tyler?
Well, sure. I'm sorry, can you state your name for the record again?
Yeah,
Say
Joe
quick.
Velarde. Joe
Joel
Velarde?
Sorry.
And
thank
I'm a team dad, and I also help out during the tournaments.
So we did meet, Rachel and I, the Parks and Rec manager, with the coach at Senior Center. We took a look at that. It wasn't feasible for multiple reasons. The Lions Center, we took a look at, but unfortunately, like most of our facilities, there's multiple requests uses ongoing. A big part of that is for the chief's program with PAL. It's taken up a lot of that room. I did reach out personally to the high school to try to get something, put them in touch. Billy Brewer, the AD, has his information, and he did say he would contact. I don't know if he has or hasn't.
Haven't heard from anybody.
But, and in addition to that, Rachel and I brainstormed, and we sent, I believe, Rachel, right, multiple properties that are vacant and the names and owners of those people that potentially could use. The Boys and Girls Club has an issue with some infrastructure, hardware, like IT hardware stuff that's out in the open, so they were concerned about that. We've done quite a bit to try, but unfortunately, as far as the city facilities goes, it's pretty tough unless we give up some other program.
Yeah.
We've seen a couple of buildings next to the donut place, right here, right behind Foster Freeze, beside it. You have some homeless people taking it up now. They're building up stacks. I mean, I don't think we want to get to that level where we start building a stack ourselves and say, hey, this is our property now.
Yeah.
You know. And
Well, those are private property. That's not city property.
yeah, but I
right?
mean, you guys might know the person that we can talk to and let them know what we're about, what we represent,
Certainly.
what we're doing, and explain to them. I mean, I'm not saying, hey, give me a building, but explain to them our situation, and maybe those buildings been sitting there for 2 years.
Right.
So I don't think if we can use it and we can clean it up like we volunteered to do so, I don't see why it should be a problem for them to say, hey, here's a building, go ahead, clean it up. You guys are using it. You guys asked us for insurance, so we have it. And we have the coverage needed to get on to the next level.
Well, we can certainly continue the conversation. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what we can commit to.
Right.
Whether it's city facilities, it doesn't sound like we have the availability just because we have other uses and other requirements and people using them. But with respect to space, I mean, we can certainly put you in contact with people. There is no guarantee that they will,
No, yeah, totally.
allow it, right?
But in the meantime, even if we could use the junior high right now, that the premises aren't being used during those hours, those times, because I've done my homework a little bit.
That would be with
And
the
and just so their
elementary
mats can be
board.
taken care of, I mean, somewhere where we can go in the meantime and practice
Mm-hmm.
until we solve this problem. I'm not saying solve it right now. I'm
Right.
saying,
Yeah.
what can we do to move on to the next step?
You have a comment you'd like to?
Yeah, no, I think, Ms. Farther, I think the city's been put on notice, you know, I think not just us, but the public. I know Superintendent Ronna Fox, I'll get in contact with her as well. I think the school, probably this elementary school district probably has more facilities in the city, whether it's, you know, one of the school sites or not, so. I think Ms. Sanchez, Trustee Sanchez Banda is watching right now, so definitely know that they're hearing this, and I know they've put on notice, so we'll reach out as well. I'll work with Tyler on informing the administration at the elementary school district, and then we can make calls to some of the trustees, and whether at the elementary school or high school.
Because I met with Eduardo Garcia, was it 2 weeks ago, I believe? He's a good friend of mine. We used to go to school together. And told him about us, and his people reached out to us, and they're trying to work with, they're trying to work with Parks and Recs about how we can facilitate. I just met with Dr. Reese today, a good friend of mine I went to high school with, and just told him a little bit about it. Didn't get around to it too much. He was a little bit busy, but that's all we're asking for.
Sure.
Just if we can work at, yeah.
Some support from our city.
Yeah, because.
Well, you're getting it. I mean,
Yeah,
you're getting it.
definitely,
You're
yeah.
having the conversations. We absolutely are.
Like
So-
I said, and we're
Yeah.
creating champions.
Well, we can't create space. I want to make
Yeah.
it very clear. We cannot create space.
Oh, yeah.
I know what you're asking for, but we cannot create space in the form of like, we can't displace other groups just to have a different group, right?
No. Yeah,
but-
we're not asking
But
for.
we certainly can help and facilitate the conversations
Uh-huh.
with the school district and whether, we can do that for sure.
Yeah,
And so-
definitely. And like I said, if that's possible, at those hours, at those times, I mean, we can find somewhere to do it.
Right.
If it can be something just indoors, so we can do in the meantime until we're able to find a place where we can say, hey,
Right.
we can have this.
And,
place.
and we've committed to that. So,
Yeah.
Councilmember Revelar has committed to reaching out. He's a former board member of the school, of that particular school district. So he has contacts there and he'll reach out. And then our city manager will as well. So we'll make that effort for you and make sure that you're in contact with somebody. I understand the frustration. I understand what you're trying to do. And I certainly understand trying to help. But we will absolutely do what we can. With respect to city facilities, we're just limited. I mean, that's just the
Right,
fact.
right.
And so, but we can be in touch with the
Yeah,
school
just any
district and
doors that
others.
can open for us in
Yeah.
the meantime, that would be great.
You got it.
We also have the post commander for the American Legion here, sitting in the audience, so.
There you go.
Yeah. Raymond Gonzalez
So,
there.
yeah.
They got some
just-
space.
just
That
something-
might be a
That's one of our pillars, at the American Legion, so.
I know Brawley, Post 60 has a really great space.
They do.
There you go.
For that?
So, yeah, and thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll come back next
that-
month, and we'll have some great news for you as well
But
about
that
our
may be a
wrestlers.
contact for you too, not to put you on the spot there, but that may be something that, you know, this is how
Apologize there,
public forums
Commander.
work, you know, and so this is how public forums work, you know, you get an opportunity to speak up and there's people that are listening, so.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
anybody out there listening,
There you
please
go.
feel free to contact us, and it's for the kids, it's for the future,
You got
it's
it.
for Brawley wrestlers.
We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
it's a
Thank
good
you.
spot. There's
Thank you, guys.
restrooms, there's all kinds of stuff. We did a bunch of work there a couple years ago, and, it's ready. You guys could just talk to the commander. He might be able to make it happen for you guys.
No pressure.
No pressure.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your time, guys,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment or has a public appearance here of any item not appearing on the agenda?
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Carol Goss. I live at 649 Main Street, Ciudad Plaza. And I'm here because of the 805 Bar and Grill, 550 West Main Street. And I'm here because of the loud noise after 10 p.m. And we would like a review to be put on the agenda for a review for the next council meeting. And I have a petition, and I have collected 50 signatures in support of that. John Samples is on Zoom, and he would also like to speak with you, if you would speak with
Certainly,
him.
we can put them on,
Thank you so much.
certainly. Do you have a copy of that petition there with you?
The petition?
Yes.
Yes.
The name of the attendant there, who is that?
John
I'm sorry?
Sample.
John,
Johnny on wheels.
I'm sorry?
oh, Johnny, okay.
John Samples.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't see him.
Maybe he's iPhone, no?
Called me earlier.
Thank you.
Let's see if that's him. All right. And these are, just while we wait, these are signatures from residents at the Ciudad Plaza, right?
Yes.
That you've gathered, okay. And so far, there's 49 signatures here. We'll put that down for our records as well, so. I think we're having some difficulty connecting with him, but in the meantime, is there any additional comments you'd like to make with respect to that request?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything else that you would like to add while we wait for Mr.
No, that's
Sample?
it.
That's it,
That's
okay,
it.
all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, we
Sure.
appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
Is there any, there's not anyone connecting, so we'll go back to it if we need to. If there is a public comment and he'd like to make it, he's welcome to do it. But we will move on. So, just for clarification, it was regarding, that last public comment was a petition that was signed with respect to the 805 location, the bar and grill, and it's a petition to stop loud music after 10 PM. And there's approximately 49 signatures, and we've saved them for public record. All right, we'll move on for the moment, but is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment on any item not appearing on the agenda? Any online comments? None? Okay, we're going to move forward. Thank you all. Yes. All right, so the next item we'll move on to is item 2B. And we are going to ask Katie Alcantara Santillan, the Pioneers Memorial Hospital District Board President, to come up and make that introduction of the Chief Executive Officer, please.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor, City Council members, and administration staff. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to give you an update of what's going on with Pioneers Memorial Hospital and especially El Centro Regional Medical Center, which I'm all want to know about it, right? So I'll introduce to you Dimon Sorensen. He is our interim CEO. Dimon?
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you tonight. There's a lot going on in our community about hospitals and healthcare and those kinds of things today. So we appreciate the opportunity to get out and update you a little bit. One of our goals is full transparency. We've been meeting a lot with our staff, with our medical staff, with a lot of folks as the events have unraveled here over the last couple months. Just to give you a little update, I think that it's important to understand why a lot of this is happening. In this healthcare market in Imperial County, about 80% of the patients we see at our hospital, and I don't know El Central's exact numbers, but I'm sure they're relatively similar to what ours are, but 80% of the patients we take care of are either Medicare or Medi-Cal, so government payers. And over several decades, those government payers have given minuscule increases in payment rates, couple percentage. We haven't had an increase here at Pioneers from the state for over 10 years. So, you know, none of the rest of our costs are going up at that pace. They're going up at exponential rates compared to that. Pharmaceutical costs alone are double digits usually every year. Staffing is a big issue in healthcare. With everything we've been through over the last several years, a lot of people are getting out of healthcare, so we cannot recruit nurses and doctors and staff of any sort to come work for us. It's very difficult, and so we end up with what's called a contract staff, a registry nurse, who costs us 3 times what it would cost to have a normal employee in our organization. We spent over $8 million on contract staff last year. So those are some of the pressures we're facing, and I think that over the years, you know, that's just built up to a point where the financial struggles for particularly hospitals in rural communities is at a point where it's very difficult. I've been here since I actually started working with Pioneers around the 1st of September to help identify opportunities to turn those financials around. And I always tell people, you know, if we'd have come in and not found any opportunities, I'd really be scared. But we did find a lot of things that we can do to turn our numbers around, and we've been kind of working since then. I started full-time the end of October to help implement some of those things and to begin to turn our financials around. And we're kind of at that point where things are starting to go back the other way now. We've started several initiatives. Some of those take some time to pick up steam, but we're very optimistic that our finances are going to be much different in the next 3 months, 6 months, a year than they are today. But that's kind of what's happening at El Central as well. They've been dealing with some of the same issues. I think their issues are more severe, so we're seeing much more drastic, draconian moves. Most recently, you've probably all heard a lot about, they reached out to us on December 14th and let us know that they were going to close down their OB-PEDS program. And we've seen a lot of social media, a lot of things in the press about that in the last week. But we have been working furiously since that time. They actually discontinued taking new admissions into their program at midnight January 4th, and as of the midnight January 8th, they were no longer in the business. So we've been working furiously to be able to provide that service in the community, and we are perfectly capable to do that. We've been very successful. We've hired about 25 of the nurses from their hospital to come down and work at ours. Space-wise, you know, we have enough room. You know, deliveries unfortunately don't come at a steady rate. There's 10 today and 1 tomorrow kind of thing. So on those busy days, we're going to be compressed a little bit, but we've got plans to kind of move people around and do some things. We do have a good plan in the space to do it. We have top-notch providers at our facility. Our OB-GYN and our pediatric staff have been heroic in this. Our leader, Dr. Wu, who's the head of the department this year, has been working every day with the emergency departments at both El Central and Pioneers to make sure protocols in place, because there still will be a need for people to go straight to an emergency room when they're in that situation. And they've established the protocols to help those ED docs and staff be able to stabilize and to get those patients where they need to be. So we're very excited. We're going to have a really good program. We're going to be, with these volumes, we're going to be one of the top 5% programs in the nation. There won't be that many that are as big as us. So it's really an opportunity for us to do some really neat things with our obstetrics. So we're pleased to serve the community, and that's our whole focus. We want to continue to make sure that the community is served in healthcare and has that service going forward. We've also been having some conversations. El Central, the city council passed a resolution on November 4th to send a letter to both our hospital and the El Central Hospital, asking us to come together and work together in whatever that might look like, in a shared service arrangement of some sort. We didn't receive that letter, and so didn't really have much conversation till late November when we got the letter. They actually came to we had a special board meeting on December 31st where they came down and presented to us and asked us to enter into a formal due diligence situation where we could kind of look at options and see where we go to bring the two facilities together. And you know, in this community, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's in a competitive market where you have to duplicate a lot of things, in a payer mix with all the government payers we just talked about, it's very difficult to succeed with two places. One hospital in this community could do tremendous things, though. There's opportunities to get enhanced reimbursement through the Medicare program. There's a special designation called a Soul Community Hospital. I actually worked at one for almost a decade of my career. And what that means is that you're the only hospital within a certain mile radius. And I think it's 25 or 35 miles. The one I worked at was 75. Here, it's a lot further than that to the next hospital, or it's at least an hour, to the next hospital. So with one hospital under one license, we could get that enhanced reimbursement. And then you think about all the duplicate costs and things that we have. Their consultants have estimated that's between $20 to $45 million a year that we could cut out of the healthcare system and make that more efficient here in Brawley. So working on a lot of things. Unfortunately, we're not sure exactly where they're at and what's happening. We hear things almost daily about other programs closing, other things going on. So we're kind of reactive. We do communicate to some degree, but at this point, we're kind of in a reactive situation. We will be looking at engaging a team of experts to do that due diligence tomorrow night at our board meeting and have some conversations then with their folks and kind of see what those options are. Any questions or, there's a lot of emotion. That's understandable. We did release a press release on Friday just to kind of make sure that there was a press conference up in El Centro last Monday night. A lot of articles hitting the paper. So we want to make sure that folks know what's going on from our perspective and sometimes what's really happening, because some of the things you're hearing are true. Some are just a little bit off base, and some are just actually not. They're inaccurate. So we want to make sure that the real story gets out there for folks. As we go through this, we see engaging our community. and what the future healthcare system then looks like, you know, from government entities to physicians to community members to our staff and others. What should that look like? Is it 2 hospitals? Is it 1 big hospital? What does it look like? But my goal, and I think Katie would say the same, is that we need to be in a position, so we need to be financially healthy to where this community can make those choices. You know, not some consultant I'm from Michigan. I don't know California hardly at all. So their consultants are from Washington, D.C. I mean, the people of this community should be in the position to develop that strategy and paint that vision for what the future looks like. And in order to do that, we've got to be healthy financially, which we're going to be, and continue to have some service here until we see what unravels and how we put the pieces together. So that's kind of where we're at. Any questions? Or?
Great points made. I mean, I think you're doing a service to everybody by being here and presenting before the council. And obviously, there's people from the public that are listening in as well. And some of the comments that you've shared with us, I think, are enlightening to me, and I'm sure to the public as well. So I don't know if there's other comments from the city council.
Yeah, just a question. When you say merge resources, are we talking about expanding the healthcare district or perhaps creating a brand new one to absorb the El Centro Regional?
Well, there's options. There was a consulting group that came in 2015 when the Calexico Hospital was being closed down, I believe. They recommended at that time that the health district expand and annex not only the Calexico area but the rest of the county, and so that is an opportunity for that to happen. You wouldn't have to create a new entity to do that. You'd just have to go through
Pioneers would be
process.
countywide?
And then Pioneers could be the whole district. That's right.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, so a few questions. You said you got notice on the 14th, so you had no idea that this was happening?
Not a clue.
And I guess, is that customary? I mean, it seems like the burden gets placed on you
Yeah.
just like that, and then a month later,
Yeah. I think it's hard to always, and I don't want to walk in somebody else's shoes. I don't know all the information behind their decision-making. I can say we're very appreciative that they did come down and talk to us because if you think about it, we had a short timeline, but at least we had a timeline where they were cooperating with us to allow us to be in a good position to be able to take care of patients. That's what I always say is we've got to keep our focus on taking care of the people of the community and our patients. And if we do that, then we're doing the right things. But yeah, and actually the first message I got is we want to close by the end of the year. And we were able to talk them into January 9th.
hello to you too then. Yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Sorensen, you mentioned also you wanted to get the community involved. Currently, are you out there looking for community engagement, or are you planning on that? Or?
Yeah, what we're doing right now is, we've been doing a lot of transparency. We've been doing that with staff, with medical staff, and now we're expanding to the community. At this point, we just want you guys to know what's going on, and at some future point as things progress and there's options and ideas, I mean, some of this might move really fast to where we can't have a lot of time to talk a lot, but I would think that once we come together in whatever fashion that might look like, and it might not even happen, I mean, that's the goal, then at that point, we would engage our communities. One of the things and other reasons we wanted to communicate is because the consultants that they've brought in had never been to the community before, but they came in and recommended that what needs to happen is Pioneers and El Central need to come together, and then they need to sell to some big health system. And that's one option, and it might be a good option. But, again, I don't think that some consultant from out of town ought to make that happen. That would be for these communities to decide. I think that if you look at our 2 hospitals together, we are just under $300 million in net revenue. So the spend of healthcare of our community is that there's $500 million or more that goes outside the community, over the hill to San Diego, some to Yuma and some up to Palm Desert. But that's an awful lot of of revenue that could be captured if we develop a health system here that is attractive to bring professionals and others here. That creates jobs. I mean, I've heard it said, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I've heard it said that for every healthcare job you create, there's 2.5 others that throw off in a community. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I mean, there's certainly other jobs that would throw off because healthcare jobs, physicians and others are generally pretty good paying jobs.
Yeah. And so, I think in one article, I think Easter, it closed due to, they're losing money, correct? I think about, they said 10 million. I guess how are we able to profit or ensure that we won't, I guess what are we doing different at PMH that ensures that confidence that we can not, make the same losses they were making?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, I got to tell you, I've been in healthcare a long time, and OB doesn't usually make money. So I asked them 3 times, and we went over the numbers with a fine-tooth comb because I wanted to make sure that it was positive for our organization. And 3 CFOs ago, so I don't know how long that was, but was very successful in negotiating rates with the state for what we get paid for our OB service. And so we do make money on it. So that's part of it. I mean, I think that 10 million that you heard, they said they were going to get rid of a $5 million loss out of their program. And they were looking at moving some of those nurses to other places because they've got a lot of these contract people that I mentioned as well, about twice as many as we do. So they were looking to reduce costs in those ways as well.
Yeah, I do have one final, if I get my soapbox here for a bit.
Sure.
And I understand, and this last statement isn't necessarily directed at you, but on the entire situation, bigger picture of this. And I really appreciate your transparency. I know I've noticed on your website the agenda and minutes are posted, and I think that was at the request of staff at a meeting. So good to see you took that call. But last Friday I did read the weekly update provided at Central Regional Medical Center, where the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Tomaszewski, stated, combining these services will result in improved patient outcomes. And I asked myself, exactly how so? What are the metrics to back this statement? Then I read his full statement where he cited all kinds of journals and studies, and it read really well and made sense. But I too can write well and do my own research, and found the following. In a study published in the Journal of Perinatology found that, and I quote, women in rural, non-core areas with Medicaid or no insurance and living in counties with lower income and educational attainment had to travel farther to the nearest hospital with obstetric services or neonatal care than their counterparts. And the study concluded, quote, women in communities that are already socioeconomically disadvantaged face increasing and substantial travel distances to access perinatal care. This decision made by ECRMC seems to widen the gap between the haves and have-nots, but something that we have unfortunately become accustomed to here in our Imperial Valley. In another study published by the Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology found that the closure of obstetric units in hospitals across the United States has disproportionately affected patients living in rural areas, and concluded that, quote, longer distances to the delivery hospital were associated with greater risk of adverse maternal outcomes and NICU admission, end quote. Longer travel distances to hospitals provided obstetric care may delay the receipt of prenatal screening interventions and have been shown to increase pregnancy patient stress and anxiety. Now, we can go back and forth on studies and citations, but the point I'm trying to make is this. Although some of these conversations revolve around the problems of transparency and finances and for-profit, what the core of this issue is, that's not being talked about enough, what this is really about is access to health care. Not just access for women, but mothers and expectant mothers, access to their health care. Here we are in 2023 in a progressive state of California, in a rural county, in a socioeconomically disadvantaged region, in a brown community, seeing literal miles being put between mothers and their ability to access their own health care. My hat's off to you and your staff and all the public officials speaking out on this, as this is a serious health equity issue. You see the word equity flown around a lot, especially among us politicians, usually as a buzzword, to be quite honest, and yet here we have before us a decision made that is seemingly widening the health inequity here on the Imperial Valley, and I hope more will speak out regarding this matter. Thank you for your willingness to come to this council and audience. I really appreciate it. And I said, I'm sure you get the key stakeholders to discuss and guide the vision of healthcare in our Imperial Valley. But I just didn't want to get that off my chest. So, Thank you, Mayor, and thank you.
Is it my turn?
Councilmember Wharton, I think you had to comment.
Yeah, I'm just saying, because this is such a big topic, and thank you for both being here. Pleasure to meet you for the first time. Thanks for the introduction, and Katie, of course, always has been dedicated in leading that board for many, many years. Just my comment again about that, it's access, quality, as well as reimbursement, sustainability. If you don't have the three, you don't have healthcare. So we can beat one, sort of third of the pie, all we want. But the very complex balance that you have before you, Mr. Sorensen, is getting all three of those things in balance, and it is. The point I wanted to make is this is happening and has been across the country, in particular in rural communities. So that is not new. We've been talking about this, and I used to often tout, we are fortunate to have even what we have. A lot of people don't know that because they don't know what to compare to. But it sounds like you came from an area that, was similar. There's a wide swath of our country, approximately 80 million Americans actually live in an area where access is, not to mention quality, not to mention obviously outcomes, et cetera, are much harder to come by. And so we do need to rally around what we have, but it begins with this. Recognize the strengths we have. Recognize what we have, even the infrastructure that we do have. I've always been impressed with it. We do a lot with a little. And Mr. Sorensen, I want to let you know certainly my any support, and certainly to the board to get behind whatever efforts going forward as a complete regional community. You certainly have that, and it's my intention to come introduce myself to you personally. You get a chance.
Please.
Thank you, Damon. A lot of you I know, and I've been on the board for 27 years. This is my community, and I love it to death to a certain extent, okay? Now, and you said it right now a little while ago, Mayor, that, all of you, transparency. And when you come to this forum, you let people know what's going on. Certainly. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Although I try transparency to come out to the community, do it, a lot has to do with your leadership. Okay, if you don't have that, it's not going to happen. So today, when we were talking about leadership in the past, and we got a couple of new board members, I have to say that this idea coming to you was actually the new board member, Rachel Fonseca. And I really appreciate it. And we have been talking to Demont. That's what we want. I am going to create some community advisory committees for here and going all over as much as we can. We have to let the community know what's going on. If you keep it quiet, to me, it's always one person in control. That's not what it's about. That person is not paying our taxes. It's a community here. And from now on, while I'm the president, it's going to happen. Because this one person has control, there's a lot of things that are going to go wrong. Has it? Yes. Demont just mentioned 3 FOs back, we were negotiating good. Well, we've had, in the 9.5 years, we have quite a change in our administration. It doesn't work that way. So it's not always about the contractors pay us or how much money we get in. How do we use that money? What is our leadership doing to be able to? Now you're going to say, yes, you got the CFO, but you got the board. Yes, but we got to be told the whole thing. So now we as a board are asking more transparency and more information about our budget. How is it working? We want it broken down. We don't want one department being lump sum anymore. No, it doesn't work that way anymore. We have 2 new board members that came in, and they're asking a lot of questions, and that backs up what I've been trying to do. So at this point, you said, can we make it work? Yes, we can. El Centro coming to us and telling us, we need to hand this over to you. Yes. Having been on the board, like I said, 27 years, a couple of years when we had our strategic planning and powers with El Centro, we did try over 3 times working with them to actually have access coverage for the whole valley. Everything it went down the drain. Now we might have that opportunity to go back.
Certainly.
Okay, so we have to involve the community. The community are the taxpayers. It is your hospital as well as ours.
Right.
So that's why we're here. We are for transparency. We're also talked to Demont today, and what we like to do is also give you a monthly update what's going on with us. If there's something sooner that you'd like to, please let us know, because that's what the direction that we're going.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation, for the update. I do appreciate the comments that you've shared with us and with the public, and in particular, the comment with respect to, because we get it all the time, where there's consultants that come in from out of town. I've brought that up multiple times. It's like, you get people that come in for a day or two, and they come in when the weather's all right, and they're making decisions that impact our lives.
That's right.
why are we not making those same decisions here for ourselves? You know, and so I do appreciate the fact that you've stated that multiple times, and you do come from an area that is unlike us here, but it's in similar and maybe in the rural form, right? And so thank you very much to the two of you for coming in, sharing your thoughts and ideas, and helping us get the message out for you. And I would offer my assistance as well. When I think of healthcare topics, I think of Donnie Wharton. He's the resident expert within our council, and he has years of experience in that field. So I do rely on his opinion, and I value and trust his opinion. So I'm sure he'll be able to help us navigate that for us, you know. But if there's anything that we can do as community leaders, please let us know. Be happy to be able to either attend a meeting with you or anything that we could offer. I certainly would appreciate. So thank you again very much.
Take you up on that.
No, certainly. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on. Thanks again for that presentation, and I hope the public online and here in attendance was able to gain something from that. The next item on the agenda is item 2C. We're still in public appearances and comments, so it's for the San Diego and Imperial County Small Business Development Center Network, SBDC, presentation on available services, training, and support available to entrepreneurs and small businesses. Presented by Virginia Rosales Trujillo, Manager and Business Project Advisor. All right.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and City Council.
Good evening.
I first want to start by thanking you guys for the opportunity to be here today. I wanted to take a minute to come and introduce myself as well as make myself available to you all in the city of Brawley. My name is Viridiana Rosales Trujillo. I am the interim manager for the Small Business Development Center Imperial Valley office. We are now part of the Imperial County. More specifically, we're under the Workforce Development Office Department for the county. And we are one of 9 centers throughout our network. We are connected to San Diego, so it's San Diego Imperial Valley SBDC. Our mission at SBDC is to provide empowerment to entrepreneurs as well as increase business growth in our community. And for that reason, we are here today to, again, make ourselves available to you guys and the city. We had great results last year. As a network, we provided counseling hours of over 19,000, provided over 693 training events, and trainees and attendees were over 8,000 in attendance. We were able to have these results by increasing our presence in informational booth throughout our county, public appearances as well. For the first time in history, last year, SBDC was able to participate at the Cattle Call Parade. It was a great experience. Our float was made up of business owners throughout our community, some of them being from here, from the city of Brawley. And for this upcoming year, 2023, we're hoping to increase our effort and provide additional assistance to our business community. We have sort of completed our training program for the first 6 months of 2023. We will be partnering up with resource partners such as the Environmental Health Department. I know that there's a lot of increased interest in food trucks, so we want to make sure that they are guided properly. We're also partnering up with ICOE to provide training on those interested in starting their daycare business, Tax Franchise Board, FDA, and other agencies. And we will also continue to provide assistance to Spanish speakers through our Business Lunch Academy and Business Financial Fitness courses. These courses have to be provided in Spanish in order to take advantage of the $5,000 grant through the SEED program. The courses are designed to help entrepreneurs understand the basic needs of a business management. We help them through and guide them through a business plan development, how to understand their business financials, such as a cash flow, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and then help them navigate a little bit through a marketing strategy plan. That is pretty much I have for today. Again, I wanted to take that opportunity to introduce myself and let you guys know that, again, our mission is throughout the Imperial County. We've had the pleasure of working with many business owners here from the city of Brawley, and we hope to continue to do. So, for this 2023.
Juliana, thank you very much for the presentation. Is there any questions from the council? Any comments from council?
Thank you for coming. Very nice to meet you. You just took over that position, correct?
I did,
Okay.
just August of last year.
All right. No, thank you so much for coming.
You
Introduce
also had
yourself.
a very successful client recently, won a contest about, right? Can you
We
share?
did.
Yeah.
We had one of our participants who went through our Business Launch Academy training. She was always there, always on time, always willing to participate, take notes, had a million questions for us after classes, and you can tell that her interest in starting her business right was there. After that, she was encouraged by one of her family members to apply to a grant program also for entrepreneurships through Despierta America, which is a televised network out of Miami. She participated with different entrepreneurs through the entire United States, and she credits a lot of what she learned with us at SBDC as part of her success. She came on top, and she was able to beat out every other entrepreneur in the United States and was awarded a $25,000 grant towards her business.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. We appreciate your introduction. If there's anything that we can do to help you and promote your services here in the city of Brawley, please reach out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on. Is there anyone else? Actually, there is. There's Mr. Sample, who's on Zoom. He had a comment with respect to some of the issues that were brought up by the Ciudad Plaza residents. So is he available to share his comments?
Oh, his volume.
No, he looks like
I can hear
he's
him.
muted.
Barely.
He's muted.
Is it his volume?
He's muted. You hear other voices in your head?
Or is that somebody else?
That's outside.
No, it could be you.
By the door.
Johnny on wheels.
So we're listening for Mr. Johnny Sample. He's going to be making some comments,
Is that outside?
and we'll give him a second just to connect here. If not, we'll move on. Mr. Reyes, do you have anything, any jokes you'd like to share today, or no, while we wait? No? I think that's, there we go.
There we go.
Mr. Sample, how are you? Yes, we can hear you. How are you, Mr. Sample?
Hello, everybody. This is Johnny on Wheels.
Johnny on
Happy
Wheels.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
First of all, I want to congratulate Mr. Luke Hamby. Years back, he walked down Main Street, and now we have more businesses in Brawley. Thank you.
Wow.
Luke.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
Okay, secondly, congratulations, Mr. George Nava,
Thank you, sir.
the best mayor of Brawley, right?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gill, congratulations, Gill, on your new position.
Big. Thank you.
Okay.
Best anything?
So anyway, the reason that I'm
What about-
asking time is to talk about the noise abatement that's going on in Brawley. I live here on the 3rd floor, and the sound comes from 805 like a rocket through my window. My window rattles in the evening from 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And what my suggestion to the city council in future reference, if you're gonna give a permit to an outside environment like that is, you should have restrictions on the sound. And there's no reason that that music can't start at 7 o'clock and be done by 11 o'clock. That's my suggestion. We need business in Brawley, and I'm gratitude for that.
Mr. Semple, thank you very much. There were some women here that presented their concerns as well. They did bring in a petition. It was signed by 49 residents. I believe you may be one of those residents. And so,
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
and we appreciate your comments. We're, you know, quite frankly, or quite honestly, I should say, I'm not quite frankly, but quite honestly, this is the first I'm hearing of a complaint. So we'll address it with city staff and see if there's anything that we can do to follow up. But we will certainly be in touch. Mr. Sample, I know I see you around town, but we will reach out and we'll see what we can provide to help alleviate some of that pain.
Okay, great. Okay, last but not least, ADA compliant. Mr. Gill, Mr. Luke, Mr. Nava, you know how important ADA compliance is important in every city, and every person in a wheelchair deserves equal and quality of life. And that's next on the agenda.
Is there a comment that you'd like to share, or just with respect to the, Mr. Sample?
Excuse me?
Is there an additional comment you'd like to share on that?
Yeah, when are we gonna start talking about ADA? When are we gonna start talking about blue lines in the city? I don't see any business in Brawley that has a blue handicap spot for disabled people. Not one. And none of them have been repainted in years. That's what I'm talking about.
Understood. I think
We'll
that,
talk about that at another date, okay?
I appreciate it very much, and I would tell you that I have seen, obviously ADA parking spots, but oftentimes they are faded, so I agree with you in that respect. But yes, we will discuss that at a future date, but thank you again for bringing that to everybody's attention, and thank you for being vocal about it.
Thank you for being patient with my ability to be in this meeting. Luke, nice to see you. Gil, God bless.
Thank you,
Donnie,
Johnny.
do right, go for it.
Donnie, do right.
God bless you guys. Thank
Take
you.
care, thank
Johnny,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Cage.
Always, Mr. Johnny on Wheels. Big round of applause for Mr. Johnny on Wheels.
I think the camera was cut off like right here.
Yeah, that's why I didn't mention it. It's cut off. All right, the next item is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? No? All right, so next item is the consent agenda, and now we're going to be moving a little faster through this process, so.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
it.
There's a second, all right. It's 6:54 and we're on consent, all right.
All right.
We'll start.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We got extra
Motion-
coffee back?
Motion carries,
I'm gonna
thank
make- I'm
you.
gonna make
We're
my
gonna go
report
through this
very
quickly.
long.
Next item on the
Very
agenda,
long.
city manager report.
For the sake of time, I'll defer till next meeting.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is regular business, review and accept grant funds in the amount of $2,500 awarded to supervisory clerk Itzanjana Ortega, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, please excuse me, to attend the American Library Association LibLearnX Conference, further approved travel over 500 miles to event location New Orleans, Louisiana, presented by Petra Ortega, Library Manager.
Ms. Ortega, how do we pronounce your first name?
It's Itzayana.
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 The heck?
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Petra Ortega, Library Manager. This request is to accept grant funds in the amount of $2,500 awarded to Supervisory Clerk Itzayana Ortega. These funds are to cover travel and lodging expenses for her to attend the 2023 American Library Association LibLearnX Conference. We further request approval for travel over 500 miles to New Orleans, Louisiana, where the conference is being held.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. Obviously, if there's discussion, that'll be up to you, but I'll make a motion to move forward with this item.
Thank you.
I'll
There's a
second.
motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're Petra, not Itzayana, correct?
I'm Petra.
Oh,
Okay.
Is Itzayana related to you or no?
She's my sister. She's also
okay.
our supervisory clerk at the library.
Fantastic.
Great.
There you go. Make sure she stays in line, you know what I mean? There you go. All right. So next item on the agenda is regular business. 5B, discuss and approve resolution 2023 of the City Council of the City of Brawley, acting in the capacity as a successor agency of the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency, declaring pursuant to California Government Code 54221 that the real property identified as APN 047-050-021 is designated as exempt surplus land and not necessary for the successor agency's use at this time. Further finding that such declaration is exempt from environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act and taking related actions. Presented by Carla Romero, Finance Director, City Treasurer.
Thank you. That was a mouthful.
It was. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, members of the public. I actually have a short presentation. It's about 6 slides, but it really covers the next 3 items on the agenda. Rather than doing a presentation for each one, we're going to do it comprehensively because they're all related to one another. On the line with me, joining me on Zoom is Stephen Duquette. He is a consultant who has been helping me throughout this process. He works for multiple redevelopment agencies in the Imperial Valley and across the state in helping with matters such as this that's being presented to you tonight. So let's start with a little bit of background. This process really started in June of 2022 when the city engaged with Lee and Rowe to do a North Area water study. It came with the Indy Dwell development and CNG development and other proposed developments in the north end of the city. And so we asked Lee and Rowe to do a comprehensive review of the water infrastructure impacts.
Just 1 second, I'm sorry to interrupt. Armando, I'm not sure if everyone's muted on the call. I think that's why we're getting the feedback.
Or
Yeah,
if there's
thank you.
anyone in the audience that has the feed also.
I think we're good.
Yeah, okay. So part of that process also allowed us to identify that there was a successor agency parcel that is vacant, still owned by the former redevelopment agency, and what potential use and capacity that could serve to the city. So fast forward, during the November meetings with the County Oversight Board, Mr. Stephen Duquette was presenting a similar land use item on the city of Calexico, and it caught my attention, and so I reached out to him and asked if he could potentially help us with some potential use of our particular land and what that transfer would look like. So he also, in conjunction with Public Works, met with Lee and Rowe, which also provided a supplemental letter regarding the use of the vacant parcel. To the right, you'll see the various people that have been involved in this process. That also would include, of course, the City Council and you as City Council acting as a successor agency board tonight for these items. Sorry, it's not clicking here. So in 2013, the city had a long-range property management plan that was required after the 2012 Redevelopment Act dissolution. That long-range property management plan was approved by the Department of Finance on May 12th of 2014. It does list one parcel, the parcel being discussed tonight, that is still owned by the redevelopment agency. The parcel is located on Jones and 7th Street. I have a visual map on the next slide. The parcel has no current utilities. It's about 9.82 acres, and it's zoned M2 light manufactural industrial zone for that particular property. This is a visual of where that property is located, just west of the airport. You'll see the landing strip here of the airport and the property located here adjacent to some housing developments, and then the Indy Dwell would be here in this area.
Mm-hmm.
What we are proposing to do is to have the land transferred from the redevelopment agency to ownership of the city of Brawley for water infrastructure improvements. Potential water infrastructure improvements are those noted on the right of the screen there. And as mentioned, the Lee and Rowe original study, which was dated September of 2022, is included in the packet. That study was presented to the City Council on November the 15th, so I won't go over that entire study since that has already been done. And a supplemental letter, though, was also issued by Lee and Rowe on December 22nd, 2022, also included in the packet. And I would like to read some of the summaries of that letter that solidifies the request tonight. In order, as stated in the letter, it says, in order to refine the updated water management plan related to the north area of the city, Lee and Rowe performed a study, state hydraulic analysis using the city's computer water model for the combination of scenarios of existing and build out and demand conditions, including the average day, maximum day flow, and peak hour flows. The goal was to determine how the current developments in the north area impact the city's water distribution system. As a result of the above mentioned items, with consultation with city water department staff, and the location of a new 4 million gallon water storage tank and pump station would be proposed on the successor agency parcel that is currently vacant. Significant reasons that the site is a superior location for the new 4 million gallon tank and pump station are as follows. The site is approximately on the same hydrostatic pressure gradient as the existing 3 million gallon water tank located at the airport property to the east of the vacant parcel. The site is immediately adjacent to a residential area that will benefit from improvements to the water system, including but not limited to improved water distribution reliability and resiliency. The site is vacant and not currently in use, meaning that it can be readily used for current water system improvements without delay and allows for future expansion. And last but not least, the site is owned by the redevelopment agency, meaning that an eminent domain or threat of eminent domain process is not required to obtain the site. Meaning that it can be readily used for current water infrastructure improvements without delay and allows for future expansion of the current water system. And there are various items noted to the right because we wanted to provide the utmost flexibility as we continue to explore the potential uses. Obviously, these are all potential uses, but we can't have everything on that one parcel. But we also didn't want to narrow the scope so that the Department of Finance would allow us to do any one of these as they continue to progress going forward. We have one or two more slides. So there are three requests, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. One is to designate that the parcel is exempt from surplus land and not necessary for the successor agency at this time, which is the first item. The second item on the agenda is transferring the parcel to the city for the essential waterworks government purposes noted on the previous slide. And the third item would be the city accepting that transfer of land and the use for those particular purposes noted as essential waterwork government purposes. So this requires several approvals from several governing bodies apart from just the three items tonight in front of you. Next steps would be that we would have to get approval from the County Oversight Board as well. And in this particular month, we're hoping to take this on the agenda. It'd be the final week of this month. And then we also have to take it to the Department of Finance for review and approval, and also to the California Department of Housing and Community Development. Then after all of those people approve the transaction, we could start the actual transfer of land ownership, which would require title and escrow to be opened and completed. There's a lot of oversight. But ultimately, if the city doesn't use it for this purpose, we'd have to sell it for low-income housing, which already exists in the area and doesn't bring any additional revenue to the city.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to take any questions, and Mr. Duquette or I can answer them.
Are there any questions from council at this time? Any comments?
I got 20 questions, Mayor. No, I'm kidding. No questions. No questions.
There's no cost. I think I forgot to mention that there is no cost to the city for actually taking possession of the ownership, other than a lot of the heavy lifting we've already done with consultants and staff time to take this to the final end. So it would basically be myself and Mr. Duquette doing all of these final items here that are left.
I did have a couple of questions. Once the transfer is complete, does that begin a property tax assessment that the city will be responsible for? It'd be tax exempt?
It would continue to be tax exempt under city ownership.
Tax exempt.
Okay.
So it's just a formality, right, just from one agency to the other?
It is, but it's an extensive one because it's owned by a redevelopment agency.
Correct.
So,
And Carla, maybe this is getting too far off subject, but along with this property, what else does the city have in its possession as a successor agency that still has to be offloaded or spent or?
This is it.
That's it.
This is it.
This is
the
it.
only
We've had this
parcel.
for 8 years, 9 years.
The last one.
Yeah.
There's no remaining funds of any
No,
kind that have
there
to
was
be-
like one property and we discarded that years ago.
Yeah.
It was like
Wow.
a home that we had.
So how much longer will we as a council have to, or the mayor have to read, that title on the first page, that's the successor agency to the Brawley
Well, that'll
redevelopment?
remain, I think.
It would remain, however, then items after this might bring some light to that as well, as to other considerations we would like you to take tonight regarding the redevelopment agency and the wind down of those activities. So
Mr. Hamby, successor agencies have to exist until the bond debt service is all paid. And some of those are long. I don't know,
2036.
in Calipatria, where I'm city attorney, it's like 35 more years.
Okay.
So technically, it'll remain there.
George, maybe mayor a couple more times before that.
I mean, think about it. When was it that the redevelopment agency for the state of California was?
2012.
Yeah,
No.
2012, so that's been going on 11 years.
The successor agency
Uh-huh.
was enacted at that
Uh-huh.
point, but how many decades before that was the redevelopment agency in?
Well, some cities have a lot of property,
Uh-huh.
and, and they've had to dispose of different things. We don't have a long list. So we've had very few, this is the final one, so it's just,
And then the debt.
yeah, that's the other
The
thing
debt
too.
has to be paid.
And that's a bond that
So the way redevelopment agencies were financed is they sold bonds against property tax revenue that they were going to get.
Wow.
Now they don't get it, but the bonds still have to be paid.
Mhm.
So ours are going to be paid until 2036, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll go over that item in the next two items on the agenda.
So the item for discussion approval is the resolution 2023. Is there a motion to approve this item?
We're looking at, I'm sorry, we're looking at items A, B, sorry.
We're looking at 5B at the moment.
You got a motion over here.
A motion to
There's a
approve.
motion to
I'll
approve.
second
Is there a
it.
second? There's a second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Hamby.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hamby. And so, any further discussion on this topic? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
What I was getting at, Mr. Mayor, is that, we could combine B, C, and D.
Well, we'll go line by line here, just to keep
Okay.
it, but she has presented, so we'll go quickly. Next item is, item 5C, discuss and approve resolution 2023 of the City Council of the City of Brawley, acting in its capacity as a successor agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency, authoring the transfer of real property identified as APN 047050021 to the City of Brawley for essential water works government purposes, presented by Carlo Romero, Finance Director, City Treasurer. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Motion to approve item 5C.
There's a motion.
A second.
And there's a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to the item 5D, discuss and approve resolution 2023-authorizing the acceptance of the transfer of real property identified as APN 047050021 from the successor agency to the City of Brawley for essential water works government purposes. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Also move.
There's a motion.
Second.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And now, did you want to cover this one separately, the recognized obligation payment schedule, that?
Yes, I
Okay.
have two presentations separate on each one, very short, because there's a slight difference between the two.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Duquette, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. So the first one is the 2023 Recognized Obligation Payment Schedule. This is something that the City Council is used to seeing every year. It's a requirement to have completed and to the Department of Finance by February 1st. The 2023-24 ROPS would start on July 1st, 2023, and end June 30th, 2034. Sorry, that should be 24, not 34. Apologize. The ROPS includes technical and administrative expenses, bond disclosures, technical reports, and assistance required to follow those. The administrative allowance is a $25,000 reimbursement back to the general fund in order to do all of these requirements and pay the debt service and coordinate events related to the wind down of the redevelopment agency. The bond repayments are based on a defined debt service schedule, which is not subject to change based on those disclosures, and there are no new items on this particular ROPS that have not been previously approved. There is an item at the end that is zero, and the reason that there is no reimbursement requested on that line item, you'll see it here from Wildan, is because that item is only required every 5 years. But we are also requesting that the Department of Finance not remove that item, because once it's removed, it's really hard to add it back in. So that's something that we added last year because it was a requirement in last fiscal year's recognized obligation payment schedule. And you'll see that item when I present the last and final, that is included in there. So these are the particular items that are noted. The item numbers correspond to what the Department of Finance has issued, so they're not in sequential order. Those mirror what is in the ROPS schedule. So we have Bank of New York Mellon houses the bond covenants and requirements, and so they have a fee that's required every year. Bartow Wells prepares our bond disclosures and also disseminates them on the Emma website. We have the administrative allowance, which again is a reimbursement to the city. And then the debt service payment for the 2016 bonds is $301,875, which is the highest amount. And then we have continuing disclosures, which are basically property tax-related documents that are needed from a consultant in order to prepare the bond disclosures. So the total for the 23-24 ROPS is $329,795. This is coming from property tax increment money that would have gone to the redevelopment agency, and they're now only obligated to actual debt. So before, the city would get millions of dollars for redevelopment agency, and now the state only allocates the money that's approved through the recognized obligation payment schedule. The remaining amount of the property tax gets distributed to the county and other taxing agencies, and then a small increment back to the city as well, which is considered redevelopment property tax trust fund money. So, one more slide here if I can get the mouse to work. The next steps for this particular item, again, it would require the County Oversight Board approval, the Department of Finance approval, the County Auditor Controller's Office review and approval. And then once that is all completed, then the city would get its first 23-24 ROPS payment in June. Payments come in June and January of each year for these particular obligations. And that really concludes this one. And I can answer I know the question is, why do we have two? And so I guess before you consider this item, I can explain what is happening. I reached out to the Department of Finance. The city is eligible to file what's called a last and final ROPS, which is the next item, and we'll go over the details of that item next. But in order to do so, the city has to, they asked me to do both the 23-24 and include the 23-24 in the last and final. The Department of Finance will then determine which one they want to accept. They may accept the 23-24, the analyst, or the analyst may decide to only accept the last and final, or they may decide a combination of that where they accept the 23-24 and the last and final without the 23-24.
And that gives them the opportunity to choose, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that is why I had to do double the work and have to work with the analyst at the Department of Finance to determine which direction they would like to go in.
How about that? They make it easy for you, huh?
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve this item?
I'll make a motion. And Carla, again, thanks again for the great presentation explanation to distill all this for us. So several steps, so I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is item 5F, adopt resolution number 2023- to approve the last and final recognized obligation payment schedule for Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2037. Further direct staff to submit approved reports to the County-wide Oversight Board, Fresno County Auditor Controller, the State of California Controller, and the Department of Finance. And we've discussed this previously just now. And so is there a further presentation that you'd like to share with us?
Some minor details that
All
are a
right.
little bit different from the
Okay.
23-24. Should be pretty quick.
Okay.
This does cover the entire period until redevelopment dissolution. And so what we had to do was do projections. Not only the bond covenants are set, but salaries related to administrative costs are going to increase over the years. So are potential consultant costs. And so what we did was estimate about a 3% increase every 5 years. And we had to do projections out till dissolution until 2037. And so all of the tax increment that the city would be requesting is included in these documents from now until dissolution. The one item that is a particular decrease or change is the administrative allowance. And the reason for that decrease is because staff would not have to do this item every single year and go through the process of approval every year. However, we still have to do the bond payments, coordinate those, still have to look at redevelopment agency laws as they continue to change. And so we do we are asking for some administrative allowance in return, but it's not the full $25,000. It would be closer to $17,500 on an annual basis. The bond repayments are still based on the defined debt service schedule. Again, we cannot add any additional items, which we're not doing in either one of the ROPS. And the successor agency can't be subject to any litigation in order to even be considered to file a last and final ROPS, which we are not subject to any. These are the benefits of actually approving a last and final ROPS, so that we would not have to do the annual ROPS. We would not have to do the annual cash reconciliation. We would not have to prepare and present these items as a staff level to the various government agencies on an annual basis and work with the analysts, which is sometimes very time-consuming with the Department of Finance. And it just provides guidance on an ongoing basis. So we are allowed 2 amendments, so it doesn't set everything in stone. We are allowed to do 2 amendments if they are needed. For example, if interest rates were to decrease drastically and we were to have savings from a refinance, we would then have to file an amendment to the ROPS. It's very important to note that there are 43 agencies in the state of California out of about 450 that have a last and final ROPS approved. I actually did one of those, and I've already done an amendment as well for a different city. None of those cities included in the Imperial Valley, so Brawley would be the first to have a last and final recognized obligation payment schedule. Again, the items are similar to the ones presented before, but again, this includes all of the totals for all of the years until 2037. And again, that last item before was a 0, but now it includes the disclosures required for the particular every 5 years, and then the final year there's 2 requirements to close out the bond. Same process, still requires lots of approvals, lots of oversight. They'll review all of the projections, including those 3% potential increases year over year. The Department of Finance will determine if they are reasonable and what they approve, and then they will issue a final determination letter, and they have 100 days to do so from February 1st, which is when we anticipate to turn this into the Department of Finance, along with the 23-24 ROPS. So this is a very similar timeline to the other. So we would be doing multiple things with the Department of Finance in the next 100 days, including the land transfer as well. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
And
Carly,
Carly, just
questions here?
making a point on this item that, again, all that was described would be no additional, there's no new financial impact.
No new additional financial impact. It would just be solidifying and letting the county and the state both know how much tax increment the city is anticipating to receive on an annual basis. It really helps with long-term projections as well from their end. As property taxes continue to increase in redevelopment agency areas, we are setting aside the monies that belong to the city of Brawley to wind down the successor agency activities.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the item?
A motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, thank you very much, Carla. Next item is, will be presented by Councilmember Gil Revelar. He has requested potential action to approve a letter of support to the city of Calexico for the resolution adopted December 29th, 2022. Resolution 2022-79 of the City of Calexico was action taken to proclaim the existence of a local emergency due to the releasing of a substantial number of immigrants seeking asylum into the City of Calexico by the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah, so I do know we have a member from the Calexico City Council here. I don't know if you'd like to share anything prior to the discussion.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gilberto Manzanares. I'm a council member from the city of Calexico. I'm here in support of the letter being presented by Councilmember Rebollar. Due to, as you know, we declared a state of emergency in the city of Calexico December the 29th, as well as the county of Imperial following on January the 10th, simply because the Department of Homeland Security has been releasing migrants at a steady influx every time, more and more, sometimes without an actual warning or in advance, so that we can prepare. The goal is to reach funds from the state federal level because we are trying to avoid these asylum seekers from becoming eventual homeless in our community. There is the possibility that in February, when Title 42 lifts, we might start seeing a huge increase in this amount of people coming into through the same process. So we don't want them to stay in the streets, because that is what happened on the night of December the 23rd. We had children and women wandering the streets of our city of Calexico with no shelter in sight, right? So we're trying to avoid this potential catastrophe that's looming by bringing available funds and being reimbursed by the money that we are spending as a city in this cost. The County of Imperial, of course, recognized the emergency and they saw the validity of it. So they were able to recognize as well and declare a state of emergency. So I fully support the City of Brawley as well as the County of Imperial to support us in this matter and, approve this letter of approval for emergency.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
With respect to the asylum seekers that have gone into the community, do you have an idea of how many?
It's already been over, it's hard to tell. Sometimes we see single digit, sometimes we see up to 30s into the 40s. It really is randomized, as a city.
So you don't have an idea currently?
In total, I guess in total? Do you have
In total, I wouldn't really be able to tell you, just because there hasn't been that much of a communication with certain agencies. We've been trying to extract exact numbers. I believe the Department of Social Services have the exact figure that presented to the county on the last meeting, but I don't really have that number right now with me.
But you could say anecdotally, I mean, like you said, you're not counting heads, but I mean, dozens, hundreds,
Over 50?
thousands?
Well, it's over 100 for sure, because they've been steadily being released every single day except for Sunday. Sometimes multiple times a day. So in every, I guess you could call it load, it would be like a dozen and then another dozen and then sometimes 2 dozens. So really, there is no way for us to really put a number on it, except for the Department of Social Services.
And the notification too, sometimes there's hour, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's,
30 minutes ahead, in the middle of the
Dropping off
night,
10, yeah.
so.
Just got a question.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just, is this, out of curiosity, being, we are a border county, but you're the border community, no question, with the port of entry, et cetera, there is a notable difference. So this, obviously, we're declaring this. Are you seeing something different today than we saw 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It is
years
different, simply because the shelter capacity is the shelters are at capacity. So that's why the government is being forced to pretty much release individuals into the streets, which didn't happen before, right? They would send them to the City of Imperial, they would send them to the facility in I believe, Holtville, but now they're at capacity, so they're just releasing them into really what used to be the old Greyhound station. I'm still unsure why they're being released there, since that is not an operational bus facility. Since a lot of these migrants have a sponsor somewhere else in the country, so their goal is to leave, right? They don't want to stay here. And we don't want them to stay here, because without any context or resources, eventually they'll become possibly homeless people in our community as well. So that is the current problem right now, and that is why we are declaring a state of emergency in the city of Calexico. We just simply, as you know, we do not have the resources for this.
And so this, obviously, this is a letter of support. This isn't our own emergency declaration, but it's to support that, because it's one thing to declare a state of emergency, but it has to be approved by the state or FEMA in order to get that reimbursement. So this, I believe, letter helps solidify their case, so they can get reimbursement. And I think it's just a show of goodwill to our neighbor city of Calexico. We never know when we might need their help on something, and so. And they're expending resources, right, from public safety to law enforcement to social services. It's really stretching out your resources. You're already thin resources, we know, being in a city, thin. Correct?
Yeah, no, we are pretty much stretching our public safety thin. Our police chief is involved, the fire chief is involved, and as you know, we don't have that many resources. So this is definitely, something that is putting a lot of taxing on our public safety, as well as, our downtown area, which is already being affected by other socioeconomic factors. And this, on top of it, is just, it might be the nail of a coffin there, so.
And, you said they're being released in the streets. I mean, they old gray, but it's unfortunate. Families and children are being released onto the streets with very little notice. And so, hats off to Calexico, and also community organizations that have been assisting, and county social services, so, and you as a city and your city manager. So, I hope to entertain discussion. If not, I'd motion to approve if there's not any more discussion or questions.
There's no further discussions. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a study session, review, discuss, and provide comments and or additional direction to staff regarding proposed digital sign designs for City Hall.
Commander Blackstone looks different.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and staff. Yes, today we're doing this study session. We're hoping that you would provide us some input as to the proposed digital signs that we have. It's actually both for City Hall and for the Police Department. And the funding source for this would be the American Rescue Plan Act, and that's how we would, fund this, these two signs. And we're hoping to purchase these in the near future, of course, with our approval and input. And the idea behind this is to deliver messages to our residents, businesses, and all those who visit our city. And the purpose of these signs is to increase our audience or outreach and the spread of information in a very convenient and manageable form. As you know, some of these signs are nowadays with technology, they're very useful, and they're actually rather easy to use. You can actually update these signs from anywhere as long as you have access to internet. So as you know, and the pandemic, I guess, has really taught us a lesson. We are living in the age of information. Information spreads at the speed of light really fast. So I believe this will help our current efforts through social media and other forms of information that we have been using to pass down. And we believe that it's our responsibility to ensure that the information that we put out is promoted quickly, because a lot of times a lot of fake news, false information is put out and is taken as the truth information. And having access to signs like these will allow us to put that information out and hopefully stop some of that misinformation that we saw in the pandemic, where people were saying one thing, everybody was confused of what to do. And we believe a sign like this would put this information in a more formal setting that people can actually rely on. And of course, like I said, we would also use other sources of information that we've been using or to disseminate information. And one of the main items that we would distribute or information we would distribute would be public health emergency information. Secondly, public safety information. And third, to promote City of Brawley events and just any information that we would like to share. And of course, these are all important items for our community, and we're hoping that we can get your input on this project as we move forward. We actually have two designs, design A, and let me see if I can put them up there. That's design A and design B. And if you see to the far right, that's the actual cost for each design. The one that has that Spanish tile on top, that's actually a little bit more expensive than the other one. We're looking at $10,000 more. And this is,
You can do that.
this is kind of like, this is actually the specifications for the height and width of the signs, how they more or less look next to a person of average height.
Is that a short guy?
That's why I said average height.
That's me right there.
I mean,
here in Brawley, we're pretty much all short.
And that's the other one. That's how we're hoping this will look like. And that's the one, or that's the one that we have, or that's rendered for the police department here. That's something that we believe will look like. Again, this is just these are just the signs that were superimposed on the locations. Let me see if I have that one. Well, let me go back to that one. On that one, we believe it should be further in. I think when the contractor put it in, I think he put it too close to the sidewalk, so I should just make that note. It should be further in as to prevent any pedestrian from being blocked from the visibility of any vehicle that is passing by and hopefully avoid any accidents like. But in essence, this is the way they would look. So again, we're hoping to seek your input on these two signs today.
Double-sided, right, Chief? That's double-sided on that?
Yes, both of them double-sided. We actually walked it, and we believe that it.
Which one do you like?
Well, that's.
We know that, the more expensive one.
Right?
I actually like the cheaper one myself, but
Besides the aesthetics,
I'm cheap.
Does it do anything? Does it protect the screen from the sun?
I think though, and I think it will provide shade so the light can actually be brighter during the day. Because when you have lighting signs.
Or actually, these are. We actually brought the contractor, and they showed us one, brought that daylight, and the technology used on these nowadays is it's incredible. I mean,
Yeah, it makes
does
no
not
difference.
matter. It makes no
That's
difference.
more aesthetic than anything.
Just for looks, pretty
Yeah,
much.
Yeah.
To match the roof, whether you wanted to match the.
Yeah, that could match the tile, that Spanish
I
tile
think the rock
style.
is pretty enough. That's,
Yeah,
it's overkill.
the
What do you
rocks
like? Which one do you like?
We went with the rocks because we believe it would match our cowboy monument that we have. So something similar. That's why we went with that. So we're trying to keep a pattern.
I thought you were
going
gonna say
here.
because we rock.
Put the mayor's face on this side, George. Right
there we go.
Well, that's what we're asking for input. I think we're getting some good input here. So
I
if
think
you
you
ask,
rock.
I believe the one on the right. I mean, for me, I'm just like the simple
Bald one.
Yeah,
way.
I like it too.
But
That
then
looks like
again,
overkill.
it's up. That's where we're seeking your input.
Sometimes when you do too much, it just looks tacky.
I think they look good. It's hard to tell exactly just because we don't have any, actual footage or anything on there, but it's still, I saw the details on it, the specs on it, and it shows video and, it's nice.
Can you stream the city council meetings?
Yeah, right? That'll create some accidents for sure.
So I think it'll definitely be a good tool for our community.
I think that was the only thing. It's just like vandalism, because people will.
Yeah,
it's gonna
and that's
happen.
why we were looking at that, and we went with the specs that are there. We believe it's very hard. If you're looking at the bottom portion, it's 12 feet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of rather hard to climb up.
It
there.
is. I'm sure they'll throw rocks or something, but, if we have cameras out there,
Yes, we actually just installed a camera that has the capability of reaching where this is going to be.
Right.
And that's something else that we would consider, maybe even in the future, installing a camera on the site as well, because it will be in a location that where most of our public gatherings occur throughout the year. So that's something else that we can have an option to do an add-on.
That's where that ballot box is at. So I imagine.
Yes,
vote
that's where the
here,
ballot
'cause
box
People
is.
have reached out to me like, where is that? City Hall, and they'll come here or they'll go around. So even something like, even though it's every other year, vote here, pay your bills here.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
It's really cool. I think it's a great
Yeah,
spot.
some of the basic information, or even if we're going to do enforcement out there, I'd like to inform the community. Let's say we're going to do traffic enforcement, we want to let
Chief,
everybody know.
we're on your
what
side,
doing.
brother, don't worry.
Do
It's
they,
good.
do they have does this company have any other signs around the valley? 'Cause I know like Beaver Health just got one. It's really nice. It's really bright. Now that I think about it, yeah, no issues. But does this company have any other signage around the county?
Yes, actually, the sign that it's here in the bank, which bank is this, the one across the street? Yes, CUB, is the same company, and actually, these will be better quality.
Yeah, that's
'cause
10 years
that's
old
10
technology,
yes,
bro.
That's old
It's
technology.
like the
compared to the new
temperature
one.
and the time, right? That
Yes.
sounds-
All
And this
right,
comes
so-
with an 8-year warranty included in this price.
Thank you, Chief. Just for the sake of time, is there any further discussion? Anybody in favor of the proposed sign from Chief, which was the, what was it, sample, I'm sorry, Chief, can you go back?
Yes.
Sample B?
Sample Bs
I would go with sample B.
That's what my recommendation.
Anybody else? Any comments on that? Sample B?
Sample B.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Okay,
Does
so
it come
definitely
back,
we'll
Mr.
consider
Mayor,
that for the
at a
future.
later date?
Yeah.
I'm sure once,
Yeah.
When's for the, when,
Yes, no
yes.
action.
yeah, when we have
Yes,
to
no
approve
action.
it.
When you have to approve the final.
That's
Perfect, thank you.
Purchase and whatnot.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next item on the agenda is item 7, informational reports. This is just a backup report from Chief Mike York, Fire Chief Mike York. If there's any questions, they're there. Next, we'll move on to city council member reports, and we'll start with council member Hamby.
Just keep it short and sweet. Hopefully, everybody will.
Yes.
I will.
I was able to attend the swearing-in ceremony for our new district attorney, George Marcus. That was well-attended, nice event. I attended a Parks and Recreation Commission meeting today, and just want to offer my condolences to the family of Rusty Garcia on his passing, and remind everyone that there's a couple services for him, one tomorrow evening at the gym at Brawley High at 6 o'clock. And the next one is at St. Margaret Mary's here in Brawley,
Friday.
right?
And then Friday
On Thursday.
Thursday. Oh, yeah, today's Tuesday,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
the next day, Thursday. But he was very instrumental, of course, throughout the city and in the Parks and Rec Department as well, on the commission. So his passing is mourned for sure throughout the city. Anyway, a lot of good discussion at the Parks and Rec meeting, a lot of good things coming for the Parks and Rec Department, but also for the whole city of Brawley. And that's about it for me. I'm just glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Next is Councilmember Revelar.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. I do want to thank all the departments for the tour. I know they're all here, but I'll keep brief. I won't mention you all, but thank you and to your staff. I have a lot of work to do, catching up to everything that all four of you have learned throughout your years, and I'll be working hard to do so. I think this is an opportunity. We have a very engaging mayor to, take something that maybe the mayor can take up, like a day with the mayor type tour, maybe reach out to ICTC and get them to donate a bus. And the mayor can take residents around the same way I went to departments and icons and parks and Brawley and really engage and inform. And I think, mayors, as you begin this year, something maybe you can take on and the city can help. And I'd be more happy to get the outreach on that, but I think it'd be really great. Because like Mayor Nava said, Brawley is more than one person. And our city is more than one thing. It's a composite. It's not just Catacol. It's not our school. It's not our parks. It's a makeup. And I look at the makeup as a board. I think we have a good coverage and representation of our city, whether directly or through our own professional networks. To understand the economics and history of our city, we have our most veteran member of our council, Mayor Nava, someone who came from the east side and continues to be an advocate, Mayor Pro Tem Castro, someone who understands the importance of physical activity. It's important. The public health just did a report on, I think a third of adults in the county don't do physical exercise, and so it's really important, especially after COVID.
obesity,
Exactly.
diabetes.
To have a strong connection to our faith community and the art of music. We have Councilmember Hamby. So I'm really excited for what this year holds, and we can come together. I think we can really get the word out on everything going on and continue to bring some life to Brawley. I think one thing we can come together on is revisiting our code of ordinances. There are some that are really outdated. Like, for example, did you know it's unlawful to play an unlicensed game of bingo? Now, I say that as there will be a bingo game on Friday night at Brawley Creamery hosted by Betsy Enders. And Chief, I may be there, so prepare to take me out in cuffs if you try to shut it down. But things like that, I know we might say, hey, it's irrelevant, we don't enforce it, but I think it makes my point even more to revisit these and trim the fat. I think Councilmember Warren understands the benefits of leaning out. And it's also showed that while some government administrations tack on rules and regulations without bothering to take some out, well, we are and we will. So I think this is an opportunity for us to come together and select some of our own and really just help guide our city forward. And finally, our schools are having fundraisers, so please reach out to your principal or PTO for more information on barbecue plates. I know Oakley and Witter are selling plates, and I'd like to see them sell out. So that concludes my report. Thank you. Happy New Year, and take it away, Councilman Warden.
And was that comment a fiscal comment or a physical comment when you just said that Donnie understands the benefits of leaning out?
Hey, maybe.
However you take it.
That's good.
Just look at the guy. This guy runs marathons, like just on the weekend.
He runs businesses and marathons.
Thank you for your comments. We'll move on to Councilmember Wharton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and just a big Happy New Year to everyone. Obviously, the year we're well into the month of January, but I do want to echo, and I meant to as well, what Councilmember Hamby mentioned about Rusty Garcia. And really, frankly, I made the comment coming in here tonight. It seems like around the holidays and the beginning of the year, even throughout the valley, as we're a tight-knit community, when you hear about loss, especially one as big as Rusty Garcia, it really just resonates. So huge condolences, as I know there's been an outpour both regionally as well as locally to his family. But outside of that, Mr. Mayor, I'm very excited about this year. I know we've had a lot of discussions, and I'm trying to get to my fellow council members too as we always kick off a new year, reaching out to most about hopefully getting together one-to-one and maybe comparing notes on some ideas that are new and exciting. Certainly look forward to working with each and every one of you as we get things rolling. So outside of that, Mr. Mayor, I will hold other activity comments for the next meeting.
Thank you very much. And for Mayor Pro Tem Castro.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I also want to echo those comments that we did have several losses in our community this past month of December. And I'd just like to, point them out and offer my condolences to the families. These are all folks who contributed to our community one way, shape, or form over the many years that they were here. And I'd like just to announce their names, Mr. John Swordfager, who lives somewhere in between Brawley and Westmoreland, and the stories that we shared and all the things that they contributed to this community, specifically those palm trees that you see as they would share time farming in Imperial County and Australia. So definitely they had an impact on his family, on this community. So also, Mr. Todd Dial is one of the folks who I constantly reach out to from my time in the Planning Commission to my time as a new council member for ideas and obviously in his area of expertise, which was community development. And then, of course, is a giant, figure in our community, Mr. Rusty Garcia, who I know we're certainly going to miss. And, so sudden and we left, it feels like we left in the middle of so many conversations. It's definitely a huge loss for our community. So condolences to their family. Besides that, I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year. I'll leave all of my activities because obviously, I think all of us were pretty busy over the break, right? And I'd just like to give a quick update on an item that we had discussed over the summer where we were looking at some form of community outreach. We're working with the schools and obviously addressing the many issues with our youth and our teenagers out there. Councilmember Donnie Warren and I were kind of tasked on that, right? We had a few discussions, but what we realized very quickly was that a lot of this stuff was already rolling through the police department. So Chief Duran is doing a fantastic job with that program. And I think that if we were getting more involved, we'd just be stepping on his toes. So I've been checking in with him over the past few months. Today we had a long discussion about that. And so, yeah, congratulations, Chief. You had a great job on those programs. And there's more to come. And so it's doing everything that we asked for last summer, right? I know some folks got beat up when I made the comment about the fees to play sports for the youth and a few other comments. And I know that folks were upset. And the goal wasn't to call anybody out or offend anyone. The goal was to make resources available for our youth, including those who are disadvantaged. And last but not least, I'd like to, today I had a long discussion with Chief about, over the weekend, the past week, I had 4 events that I attended, and a murder rate per capita came up, murder rate, right, per capita. And how Brawley in past times, we've had a very high rate, and we, at one time, many moons ago, rated somewhere like highest in the nation or close to highest or some exaggerated number, right? When we say per capita, it means per certain population, right? But last year, if I may say it, Chief, we had 0 murders in Brawley. So that is great news, and I was very happy to hear it. And I just hope that, I did ask him, what's up with your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and how come we're not seeing these regular updates? So I don't know what we need to do, boss man. But let's get that out there, man. That's great information. That is something that I want to see, and I want to see regular updates. You constantly hear me bashing on the other councils and the other communities, but that is something that El Centro is very good at doing, right? Flaunting the things that they do, and then others,
Said it for over a decade. It's like we are our own newspaper.
Yeah,
we have to tell the story.
And so I told the story of the things that the city's been doing here. Our city manager, our police chief, and the rest of staff, and obviously the numbers that are being played with, and we just approve stuff, right? The staff is doing all this work. And where we're at, it's a very successful year, and that's for all of you guys, every one of you guys, from planning, from, to the police department, to all management. You guys had a great year, a fantastic year. Congratulations to you guys. That's it. That's the end of my comment, just to let you guys know how easy you're making it for, at least for me. I know you had tougher times on council, but for me, it's been easy, very, very easy, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll keep it fairly short, but I do want to thank all of staff for all the work that you're doing. I do want to say Happy New Year. I know it's well past the middle of the month, but this is our first meeting, so Happy New Year to all. It's been a challenging month already for me, so I'm sure that all of you are probably going through your ups and downs too. And, you know, it is the start of a new year, and I'm still very optimistic about it. There's a lot of good things that are happening and a lot to happen within not just the city council, but within our community. So it's good, exciting times, but it's challenging already. So let's face those challenges and move past them. I know I'm excited about the first quarter of this year, professionally and personally, and I'm looking forward to things and developing within our community. So I do want to share with you that I was able and I was honored to welcome the state president for the Elks organization here in Brawley, and they had several past presidents there in attendance as well. And so it was an invitation by Tim Kelly, who's a fellow Elk member, and you know, it was just great to see that they were able to come out here and see the Imperial County and see, you know, obviously Brawley and
Thank you for the shout out, by the way.
oh, that's right. And then, you know,
Appreciate
of
it.
course, you know, certainly. And then we had Councilmember Castro there as well. And so, no, but it's just, it's great to welcome people into our community. They see it and they have a different perspective than we do sometimes. And so it's great to hear their perspective and how they view our community. And so I did welcome them. Also met with San Diego State University Dean Nunez, who is the local dean. And she has some great plans. I think if they come to fruition, it's going to be great things for the city of Brawley. They do have some plans for their local campus. We talked about housing, student housing, and gave her some ideas. And I think there's some opportunities there for the city of Brawley to partner with the university. They do have researchers. They have, you know, grant writers. They have a lot of people that they can assist, or excuse me, that can assist us in, and they're there for our use, and they offered that. So I think we need to be able to take advantage of their, you know, their research. She has PhDs that are available to write for us and provide information to help us with grant opportunities. So I think that would be a great partnership in doing that. And I want to further that discussion a little bit more, and hopefully that results in some great things for both, not just the local university, but for the city of Brawley. And of course, I do want to share my condolences for Rusty Garcia's family, for Todd Dow's family, who I both knew personally. The other gentleman, not so much, but my condolences to him as well and their family. But certainly, you know, these are people that have made an impact. Todd has done work throughout the valley, and Rusty has been well known here in Brawley for many years, participated in many organizations, and been instrumental in getting us to gather our thoughts and help make a change. So my condolences to the families, and I just want to thank all of you for the work that you're doing. I know everybody's working really hard, and I appreciate you all. Let's have a great year. Let's have a great month, and thank you all very much. We'll move on. Next is our city attorney report.
Save it for closed session.
Save it for closed session. That's how a city attorney does it. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're going to go into closed session. We'll take like a 3-minute break, and then we're going to jam into closed session and wrap this one up. Thank you.